Hey everyone, welcome back or welcome to Lone Pine Tarot if this is your first visit, but either way, thank you for joining me for our Pick a Card reading today, which is an important message reading, but has a little bit of a unique twist in that we don't really know who is sending the important message to you until we get to your pile, which is where I will draw a little slip from a bowl and we'll see if, say, maybe an ancestor comes forward for you, a spirit guide, your higher self, future self, and many other options. So that should be, I don't know, kind of fun, kind of refreshing, a bit of a mystery to keep us wondering. But without further ado, let us choose our pile leaders. As you can see, I've pre-selected all three. Over here on the left for pile 1, your leader is Jasmine. For pile 2, you are Elder. And last but not least on the right for pile 3, you have Chamomile. So feel free to pause on this part of the reading if you need more time to decide what pile you would like read for you. But when you are ready, drop down to the description box below. Find the timestamp for your pile, and I'll see you in our fun chat on the Unseen Ally that has an important secret message for you. See you in the readings, everyone. Hi there, pile number 1. Welcome to your secret message from an Unseen Ally reading. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to the beautiful Jasmine as your pile leader. Now, as I promised in the intro, we're going to draw from a bowl to see what kind of being or who is reaching out to you today with your message. So we'll put your Jasmine over here to the left. And here is my handy dandy meteorite bowl. Calling on spirit for pile 1 today. What being or person energy wants to send them a message that's most important for them to hear for their highest, best good? Thank you. Okay, I'm feeling drawn to this one, so drum roll please. Let's unveil who wants to reach out to you today. Pile 1. We have a spirit guide. So that actually does change one of the decks I'm going to use for you. Every single pile today gets a different deck from one of the oracle decks depending on who wants to reach out to them. So we will use the spirit guide deck for you today. Speaking of, let's grab that right now, pile 1. So the Ask Your Guides Oracle. Thank you, spirit guide, for pile 1 reaching out. Can you give us some cards and tell us more about what it is you want pile 1 to know? Thank you. We'll see. That paper might not stay up there. I might have to move that around pile 1. I apologize, but thank you. And I'm feeling drawn to this one. So we have exhaustion, number 19. Exhaustion. And it's interesting because if you add the numbers up here, it's 1, 9, or 19. It adds up, of course, to 10, and 10 was the number that you got for Jasmine. Now, I personally see 10 in numerology as the completion of cycles, coming to the end of something, but especially with the combination of exhaustion as the theme from this card for you, pile 1, it's almost like, I feel like it's either a cycle that you want to come to an end, but you're really exhausted, and you're like wondering, when is this thing finally going to cease? Or you're almost there at the end, but you're already kind of getting exhausted, and this reading might also be your spirit guide giving you some advice and guidance and hope in terms of getting you to that finish line. That's at least intuitively what I'm feeling, but we'll see, of course, with your other cards what else might pop up. We also will try to identify the spirit guide a little bit more, so let's do that right now with your Citadel Oracle. So thank you, spirit guide, once again. So talking about the end of cycles and exhaustion for pile 1. Can you tell us more about who you are, too? Thank you. Okay, first Citadel Oracle, we have, upside down, the Founder with the element of fire, with the terms, foundations, and community. So it might have been a spirit guide who, well, it depends. Spirit guides can be from many different places, in my personal belief. Of course, there are like fully spiritual beings that are spirit guides, but sometimes your spirit guides can also be passed on loved ones, so they're kind of like ancestors in that way too. I almost feel like this one kind of leans more into a spirit guide that either you knew in life, pile 1, that has already passed on to the other side, of course, or is related to your family and became a spirit guide for that very reason for you. So it's almost kind of like a hybrid spirit guide ancestor reading I'm feeling for you. And then the second one is the Muse with the element of earth, generosity, but also naivety. And we have different symbols here. We have the lyre, which is like a harp. We have a bird, and we have a pomegranate. And the 3 cups. I wonder if the 3 of cups might actually come out with your tarot cards too, which also makes me think of a community of some sort, because the 3 of Cups in tarot tends to represent social situations. Maybe you're kind of exhausted with like a social situation, or something to do with like work, which can be a social situation, of course, in and of itself, or maybe a family related thing you're very tired out with, which would make total sense as to why then a sort of ancestor spirit guide hybrid type being would be coming out for you today to give you this message. Let's keep going. And then as I draw your final oracle card, I do want to explain more about the actual meaning of your Jasmine pile leader. So each card in the Seed and Sickle Oracle has almost kind of 2 meanings, because there are 2 guidebooks for that particular deck. Now, the first meaning of Jasmine in that deck is all about do not question your path and being certain about where you are, even if it seems tough, or you might be getting other opinions in the mix that are trying to convince you not to keep going on a certain path. The second meaning of Jasmine in this deck is all about having hope in the darkness. So pile 1, I think you kind of lean more towards that second interpretation of Jasmine because of all these ideas of being exhausted, and even your imagery with exhaustion makes me think of light in the darkness. And literally you can see that hand is reaching down, giving light or giving energy specifically, because we are talking about exhaustion, being tired to you. So I think that's another purpose for the spirit guide reading for you today, is your spirit guide wants you to know that they're in your corner. Number one, of course they always are, but especially right now as you're going through this difficult time. And on top of that, they are also trying to help give you energy. So maybe recently, if you've been noticing when you've been really exhausted with whatever this is, or maybe just life in general too, you're exhausted too, pile 1. But either way, maybe you've been noticing that like certain things have been happening where I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. Like you'll suddenly get like energy or ideas out of nowhere, and you're kind of like, I don't know where I got that second wind. I have no idea. Like I thought I was at the end of my tether. I thought that, there was no way forward on the path that I'm on, and all of a sudden this thing came out of the blue, or like this energy came out of the blue and spurred me on and helped me get past that finish line. Or maybe you've been asking for that if you haven't received it yet, in which case this is like that spirit guide saying to you, pile 1, that yes, I am the one, the being in your corner that will help you with this particular thing, or I have been so far, if you've already kind of felt that influence in your life as I was describing. And then we have number 17 with misalignment, and I'll see down here, yes, the text, it says, miracles become normal once we face all of the aspects of our life in the same direction. So it's very possible that if it's like a social situation kind of going awry for you, pile 1, in every different way that might manifest, that it's because there's misalignment in the situation. So it could be that, maybe people have different goals in that particular group or workplace, and so it's causing a lot of chaos because there's almost like too many cooks in the kitchen is the phrase I like to use. Or same thing if it's a family, like maybe, half of the family wants to go this way with something, the other half wants to go another way, and it just seems kind of chaotic. It seems like things are not really focused, and that's interesting because, like I said, with your Jasmine card, the idea of like path and focus came up as one of the interpretations of Jasmine, other than, of course, like the hope in the darkness sort of message. So overall, to summarize, based on these oracle cards, the spirit guide coming forward for you today, as I said, I think is probably an ancestor also, but specifically has stepped into the role of spirit guide for you for your life path. Number 1. Number 2, this particular spirit guide could have been maybe either a fire or an earth sign if you knew them in your waking living life, this particular generation that you live in, of course, or they might have also been someone that was a really like founding member of your family, of the whole foundations of your family, aka why, the keywords foundations and community came out with the literal founder card. Also, I almost wonder if they were creative, pile one, because the muse, if you're not familiar with ancient Greek mythology, basically, muses were these beings that would inspire humans to create. So I wonder if maybe even some of this exhaustion, so to speak, has actually been more of like a creative block. Maybe that's why muse came up, and maybe this spirit guide / ancestor helps you a lot out of the blue. That second wind you don't really expect, you're not quite sure where these ideas come from, whatever it may be, is really because they're like a muse for you. They help you with your creativity. They help you with manifesting the things that you're trying to accomplish, especially in terms of creativity. Because, well, yes, you did have fire in the founder card, which fire is related to creativity in cardomancy. But also, too, like, it's energy related things, your stability, your groundedness, because we also have that element of earth popping up here in the muse. So yes, I think the spirit guide wants to inspire you. I think the spirit guide wants to give you some advice on realigning everything into a more focused path, making things less chaotic, and helping you not feel so burnt out and overwhelmed with whatever is going on. Also, maybe with some creative blocks too. So with that being said, let us look at your tarot cards. Oops, I moved my meteorite bowl there. And ask the spirit guide more about what they want to say. So spirit guide / ancestor of pile one today, can you tell us a little bit more about your message? What is it that you really want to convey other than what's already been said? Thank you. So card number 1, we have the Knight of Pentacles. Makes a lot of sense here, pile 1, because as we already illustrated with the other cards, a lot of the theme today is around progress and our goals. And the Knight of Pentacles is often about actions that we take towards our goals, especially in a slow and steady manner, and specifically tends to relate to career, job, or resource management or money making, because this is a pentacle suit card. Okay, could also represent this ancestor / spirit guide themselves, in which case I would lean towards masculine energy. I would also lean towards someone who was probably business savvy themselves, maybe even they kind of helped set up a bit of an empire for your family, hence why they were a foundational, created a community, so to speak, in your family, even if that money isn't necessarily still there today, which, I mean, that happens a lot too, you know. Certain generations will be wealthier than others, and then, of course, it kind of rises and falls and rises and falls, but at least during their time, I think they were quite resourceful. They were probably, like I said, a business person. Probably an earth sign, which, because we saw earth now twice, but let's keep going, we'll see. Card number 2 is the King of Swords reversed. Okay, so we do have another court card. King of Swords reversed can represent some issues with planning things out, not being sure where to go, or also things kind of being chaotic in terms of like the logic, which can totally make sense as to why things feel misaligned and also exhausting. So that's right on track. We'll keep going. Can also represent a person in a situation, but we'll talk about that more in a moment. We have, yes, okay, the Ten of Wands reversed, and especially being the heart of the matter or central card, or theme card is maybe a better term to use today for you, pile 1. What that means is this ancestor / spirit guide really wants you to release your burdens. They want to help relieve that exhaustion, which makes, you know, total sense. It's a complete synchronicity with this exhaustion card that you got, because that's exactly what the Ten of Wands reverse does, is relieve your exhaustion, relieve your burdens, letting down what has been heavy. So I think in general in life recently, pile 1, you've probably felt like Atlas. You know, I think technically, was he a Greek Titan? I think he was Greek, at least I know that. Speaking of Greek mythology, it's popping up a lot today. Maybe this ancestor was Greek, I don't know. But anyways, Atlas held up the world on his shoulders, and I feel like that's what you feel like right now. You're probably got some sort of really heavy burden on your shoulders, either, like I said, related to a social group, family, workplace, etc. And this ancestor is trying to help you, so they want to help relieve that. Let's keep going. Now we're kind of getting into more about the advice that they have for you, as well as kind of maybe some predictions in the future that will help bring you hope. So number 1, we have the Queen of Wands reversed, another court card. And I already can kind of tell that part of your advice is probably related to confidence. Okay, which is kind of similar to one of the meanings of the Jasmine card, but we'll keep going. We'll circle back on that. And then last but not least, we have beautiful, the Three of Pentacles as the outcome. So Pentacles, again, lots of earth energy. So I think the majority of you, this is probably more so business, work, etc. related. or money too. But we do have that group element coming up again. Now, you didn't get the Three of Cups like I thought you might because of your Muse card. It did have 3 cups, but you did get the Three of Pentacles, which is kind of similar where it deals with social groups, but more so in the way of teamwork towards a particular goal. So I can tell you this, pile 1, if there's anything you walk away from this reading from, it's this particular message I'm going to say right now. On the path you are currently on, this spirit guide / ancestor is saying you are moving towards the alignment that feels out of alignment right now. What feels chaotic right now is moving towards greater unity, greater harmony, and especially with the Three of Pentacles as the outcome, greater teamwork. So I don't know exactly how you'll get there. I don't know exactly how that situation will resolve towards that end, but I can at least provide you this hope in the darkness, like your Jasmine was talking about. This is what your spirit guide wanted for you, ancestor, etc. Is that they want to give you that hope that yes, things will finally become aligned and unified and harmonious again with whatever group situation is going on here. In which case, inherently, when things are less chaotic, when things are less intense, naturally your exhaustion lessens, because when more people are aligned in a situation, especially if they're working together on something, as I said, inherently that will reduce the stress upon you. So basically, number 1 message of this reading, as I said, is your spirit guide ancestor is trying to tell you your burden will be relieved. Remember the 10 of Wands reversed. Because you are on the path towards that greater teamwork, which can also manifest in the way of people actually offering to help you more with something, or you not having to shoulder a burden alone as much. Especially like one example that's coming up intuitively now, it might not apply to all of you or resonate with all of you, but it's like, say you're in a job situation where you've been working really hard on something alone, and you doing it alone is just too much. You can't handle it all on your own because just naturally nobody could handle doing as much work as you're doing alone. In which case for you guys, then I would interpret this example as you're going to have some help hired to assist you with whatever is going on. So just as one example, okay? Or whatever else is going on. If it's family, it's very possible that it will move towards greater harmony in terms of people just kind of figuring out, okay, we're going to we agree to disagree here in these places, but now we have this focused goal and now progress can steadily be made. We don't have to worry about this burden anymore. We can embody that energy of this ancestor / spirit guide, that Knight of Pentacles, making slow and steady progress towards some sort of financial resource goal. They did. That's probably why he's coming forward for you today, or I should say they, but I think most of this is a masculine figure, as I said, is because they embody that example of harmony and steady progress working together with other people in their life when they were alive, okay? So yes, you do have some advice here. There's a tiny bit of advice, and that's what I said when the Queen of Wands reversed came up, is I think it's related to confidence. Now, we're kind of tying this a little bit back to the King of Swords reversed. Sometimes the King of Swords reversed can represent that chaotic energy I already explained, so I won't repeat that part too ad nauseum. But court cards can also represent people in the situation, and a King of Swords reversed, pile 1, can be someone in the situation who is negatively affecting the energy of everything and tends to be, not always, but most of the time, masculine energy in an air sign, or there's someone in this situation who is being a bit cruel with their words. They're not being very careful with the way that they speak, especially because of that air energy with the swords that the King of Swords deals with. They're not being very logical in the way that they're taking action. That's another way that might manifest with that King of Swords reversed. In either case, it's just air energy completely in the wrong when it comes to, the way that they speak to others, in the way that they take logical action. Or, well, we should say illogical, because it's reversed. They're not taking logical action. And maybe that's really been the main engine and driver of this chaos in this situation for you. So your spirit guide, your ancestor, etc., they're basically coming forward to tell you, yes, I acknowledge that that's part of the issue. Or if maybe you've been wondering to yourself, well, maybe is this person really kind of the problem in the situation? Then the answer is yes. This ancestor spirit guide is basically saying, yes, that's been causing the problem. But like I said, the positive is that it will get better. You'll find greater harmony. However, that advice, that confidence, let's dig into that now. The Queen of Wands reversed as a future advice card can mean that you need to step into your power a little bit more. Especially when it comes to creativity too, because specifically, and forgive me, I don't remember her exact deity name, but she is a Polynesian goddess, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, as you can see on the card, when I flip it upright, she's related to the way that the destruction of volcanoes, like very fiery, seems very chaotic, kind of like the situation you're in right now. However, they create fertile ground and new land out of what was ocean before. So therefore, it's kind of a, destruction begets creation sort of message with this particular deity. And of course, related to the Queen of Wands. And I'm saying this is because, number one, she's a fire element card, which is related to creativity. We had the Muse before. So for some of you too, where creative passion or blockages has been a part of this whole situation, the answer for you, or even if it's not creative stuff, maybe it's just trying to get everybody aligned, is, as I said, step into your power more. Be more confident, be more bold, be more brave, because when a Queen of Wands is reversed, that's basically your ancestor spirit guide telling you you're being a little bit too meek right now. If you embody this more fiery energy, if you embody more of this confidence in your direction and more confidence in the way that maybe you step forward to try to kind of lead this situation wherever possible, that it's very possible that that's the mechanism by which this teamwork will come about. I almost wonder, Pile 1, if part of the main issue with this situation that's been going on is that there just has not been a leader. And so the situation is like ripe for you to kind of step forward and take that step, okay? However, I know you got the exhaustion card, and you're probably listening to this, especially for those of you that are really stressed and you're like, oh my God, I got to do more, which I get. I understand. It's probably like, oh God, like you're at the point where you're like, man, I do not want to take more responsibility. I want to go take a nap or whatever, which makes total sense. But your spirit guide is saying, if you just grin and bear it a little longer, just a little bit longer, if you take the reins a little bit more, that is where you'll find the relief. Okay, it sounds kind of weird at first because you're like, well, why would taking more responsibility or stress release my burden or release my exhaustion? Well, that's because, especially wherever it can be applied in terms of leadership for you to step into, for you to help guide people, to help align them. That's really the main goal here, is to align them when they're currently in misalignment. That is how people will finally realize, okay, this is where I fit in, and this is where I fit in, and now we have direction, and now we have like a main goal we can focus on, and naturally people will work more harmoniously if they understand exactly what path they're trying to go down together, okay? They just might need a North Star or a guiding person like you to bring them there. And also, too, don't be afraid to speak up for yourself in the situation, too. That's another piece of advice the Queen of Wands reversed can impart, is don't be afraid to speak up for yourself. Don't be afraid to also pursue your ambitions. That kind of might be another part of it. Maybe part of the issue is that part of the group is that they want to go a certain way, but you're more passionate and like ambitious about a different direction, in which case this would be a little bit of a call from your ancestor spirit guide to speak more about what this passion or this ambition is for you and stand up for that, okay? Especially if you know for a fact, Pile 1, that path would probably bring everybody in all this chaos completely under reins in order to gain that harmony that you've been looking for. It just requires you to step out and be a little bit louder. So just don't be afraid to be loud. Don't be afraid to speak up a little bit more. And that will be the key to the progress that you're looking for. It's almost like this ancestor spirit guide is telling you to embody the energy that they had when they were alive, in that they, they were a leader. Look at that. The founder with the Community Foundation City card. They want you to step into that same role. It's scary. It's not always fun. And sometimes taking on that extra responsibility, yes, it brings on just a little bit of extra stress. But it's one of those situations where it feels like someone has to do it. And you have the skill and you have the capability. And if you could just muster a little bit of the courage, things would go through a lot more smoothly and you would find a lot more things resolved. Okay? So don't be afraid to be that foundational leader like your ancestor spirit guide was, is basically what they're saying. And then you'll see it through fine and everything will turn out seemingly pretty good with that Three of Pentacles upright as the outcome card, okay? You'll find more help. You'll find more peace, I guess, is really the main message too. Beautiful. So that was your reading from an unseen ally, their secret important message for you, pile 1. I hope that that message helped you, that you liked it. It resonated, of course, too. That matters also. And if so, please like the video, comment down below. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And thank you so very much if you choose to do any one of those 3 things, if not more. Every little bit does help the channel a lot. So I do thank you tons when you guys do that. Yeah. And that's it for today. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye, pile 1. Hi there, pile number 2. Welcome to your secret message from an unseen ally reading. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to the beautiful elder tree as your pile leader. Now, as I promised in the intro, we're going to draw from a bowl to see what kind of being or whoever is trying to reach out to you today. So let's set your elder off to the left and do that right now. So, drum roll please for the meteorite bowl drawing. Calling on spirit for the highest best good of pile 2 today. Can you tell us who is trying to reach out to them, what kind of being or who it is? Who has the most important message for pile 2 right now? Okay, I'm drawn to this one, so let's take this. And unveiling. You have an ancestor today, pile 2. Lots of ancestor energy today in a lot of the piles. So we'll set this little piece of paper over here. And your ancestor, or whatever type of being tried to reach out to you, did change one of the decks that we're going to use for every single pile today. So you specifically, because you have an ancestor message today, we're going to use the Vintage Wisdom Oracle. So ancestor of pile 2. What is it that you want them to know? What do you want to talk to them about today? Oh, that's one of the instruction cards for the deck. I'll take that out. Whoops. Usually I do take that out, but I guess I accidentally slipped it back in. We'll reshuffle again. Feeling drawn to this one, so let's unveil it. Ooh, power. Look at that, pile 2. We have the theme of power from this ancestor. Oh, you know what's funny? Duh, I just realized that. Your pile leader was elder and you got ancestor. So I almost wonder, pile 2, if this might be a grandparent of yours that has already passed away. That's kind of the feeling I'm getting off of this reading already. I want to say feminine, so like a grandmother, but we will look at your other cards, of course, to get more of a distinct feeling for their energy, but I don't know. I think a grandparent, but let's keep going. We'll use the Citadel Oracle to kind of see more about who they are. Ancestor, pile 2. Could you describe yourself a little bit more with the archetypes? Thank you. Also, maybe your astrological sign that might help them identify you with elements. Okay, well, for sure, this one popped out. We have the Merchant with the element of Earth, with self-worth and trade as your 2 main keywords with that. And actually, we're going to set your power card up here. Oopsie, there we go. Everything's helter-skelter here. Okay, power, and then we have, yes, the Merchant with self-worth and trade. Very possible, pile 2, that part of their message for you today is related to your self-worth and stepping into your own power, because we do kind of see that theme already cropping up. But let's keep going. We have, I'm drawn to this one, the Twins with the element of water, with self-protection and dual natures. Very possible that this ancestor was a twin themselves, or maybe you are also a twin, and it's kind of, I don't know if it's scientifically proven, but I have heard the old wives' tale that twins tend to skip generations in families, and I think in my family I've even seen that too. So not that that one anecdote proves the mean, but maybe that, if you are a twin, pile 2, it's possible that this ancestor was a twin too. Maybe that's why they're specifically kind of very connected to you. Also, it could be that they had twins themselves as their children. So something with twins could be some sort of association that you might identify them with. And then we have the elements of, yes, earth and water. So it's very possible that they are an earth or a water sun sign. And we have the merchant. I almost wonder if they were a business owner or they sold something or like worked in a store of some sort. Now, I know that's kind of vague because a lot of people work in retail and during their lives, but could have been something to do with produce because we do have apples here. Although apples also make me think a little bit about like teachers. Teachers are always kind of associated with apples, so maybe this person was a teacher too. And then the elder tree, specifically this card there's actually 2 guidebooks for the Seed and Sickle Oracle. One of the fairy tales associated with the elder tree is, I believe, it's from Germany. I can't remember exactly what it's called in the German term, but basically the elder tree is seen as a tree in the woods in fairy tales that can host portals to other worlds. So therefore, number one, I wonder if this ancestor might be of German ethnicity of some sort, or, some sort of similar country like, Dutch, I guess, France is right next to Germany too, but somewhere along those lines. But they might not necessarily be associated with that particular country. That just for some of you might resonate, some of you it might not. And then, therefore, getting back to the meaning of the portal of the tree, because of that portal association, really what it means is there is an opportunity coming forward for you. Just like you might see, in a fairy tale, a magical portal in the woods is like a doorway or a gateway to something new, right? Now, the other meaning of the elder tree in this guidebook, or the other one I should say, is about not getting distracted away from your goals. Because also, yes, they're associated with portals, but sometimes they're associated with like the fae or similar kind of beings that might distract you with things, might kind of pull you off the beaten path and distract you from what you're trying to do. So I wonder if, a lot of you, it might be kind of a twofold message today that this ancestor is reaching out about. Number one, yes, the self-worth power kind of message, but also number two, it's very possible that they're telling you not to get distracted by something that may have wavered your attention off of the path that you're on. And they might also be kind of opening your eyes to an opportunity of some sort with the portal message. Okay, let's keep going. We'll see with the synchronicities if there's maybe one that comes out as the most prominent, in which case I would say that's probably the one that most of you would resonate with, but we'll see. All right, ancestor, what else would you like to say? Oh, and once again, too, I am just thinking, because of the elements of earth and water popping out, those are the feminine elements. Once again, I think this might be a feminine ancestor of yours. I just wanted to mention that before I forgot. Okay, from the Lantern Oracle, feminine figure, we have number 30, voice. You are here to be known, so speak and be seen. Well, isn't that quite synchronous with the message about power and self-worth? Also self-protection, too, with the twins. I think, pile 2, the majority of you have had an issue recently with either someone trying to walk over your boundaries, or might not be a specific situation in your life. It could just be overall too, but perhaps you tend towards not speaking up for yourself enough and not kind of standing up for your own power. And maybe you have kind of struggled with some issues with self-worth because you have so many synchronicities between those types of messages. And maybe, it could be like an overall kind of theme in your life recently or something you've struggled with for your entire life. But if you're kind of thinking of it more as a specific situation, you're like, oh yeah, that's like something that went on recently, then it would be perhaps a situation where like maybe you tried to speak up about something but like someone didn't hear you, or like they didn't want to listen. It could be another way that manifests, or it could also be that like you have a really good idea for something, or there's something you really want to do, but you're kind of being held back by a lack of self-worth with whatever this is. Okay, so in which case it's like that ancestor wants to push you in that direction. I think they want to encourage you today is one of the main things they want to help you with. But also, as I said, they might want to point out an opportunity to you with that portal message, that portal symbolism. And then, too, yeah, they don't want you to get distracted by something. And I think for most of you, I'm feeling intuitively that distraction is not to get distracted by a feeling of a lack of self-worth from your goals or whatever it is that they want you to speak up for or to like step into your power to attain. Probably related to this opportunity that's coming forward. So it's kind of all coalescing really in just one sort of overall message here, but we'll see, especially with the tarot cards, which we'll draw right now. Spirit guide, or I'm sorry, not spirit guide. Blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe they are a spirit guide for you. Sometimes ancestors are, but ancestor of pile 2. I'm so used to saying spirit guide, that's why I force a habit. Can you tell us a little bit more about what it is you want to talk to them about today and this whole message about not missing an opportunity, stepping into their power, their self-worth, speaking up? In fact, some of you, it could even be related to music or a business music-related thing. Maybe you want to start making music and selling it as, posting it online, getting it on Spotify or the Apple Store, etc., selling music of some sort, performing live. And then we have the 9 of Swords reversed as your inciting incident. So yes. They want to relieve your anxiety about something, pile 2. They want to relieve your anxiety. That's what 9 of Swords reversed means. And then we have the 5 of Wands reversed. Okay, so actually that might point to a little bit of an influence too of other people in the situation, because the 5 of Wands is typically a card about people butting heads, especially in terms of their willpower, in terms of stubbornness. That's kind of a good keyword to use with that card, but also too, it can mean butting heads creatively, because it is a fire card in tarot, and fire is all about creativity. At least it's one of its domains. Okay, so excuse me, my throat got a bit scratchy there. Hey, maybe you are a singer, I don't know, speaking of throats being scratchy, but anyways, that can mean that maybe you are afraid of the competition. Maybe that's kind of what's been stopping you from putting yourself out there, in terms of like, you're like, well, I don't know, everyone else in this particular genre, well, they're so much better than me at this music or this thing I want to release, even if it's not music. It could be some other art form, of course, writing, painting, etc. And so you're saying to yourself, like, well, I don't know, I'm just not good enough. Like, I don't think I can compete. That's another way that the 5 of Wands reversed can manifest in terms of, like, self-energy. So that's why maybe the self-worth is coming forward as a message for you today, pile 2. In which case, too, I think they're warning you, because if you lack the self-worth to seize this opportunity for this thing when it comes along, you might miss it. And that's why your ancestor is telling you this today. They don't want you to miss this opportunity. And then too, 5 of Wands reversed too could also be maybe people have been discouraging you. Maybe they've been trying to kind of beat you down in terms of your willpower. That can be another interpretation of this. Which, of course, you know what your ancestor is going to say, pile 2. They're going to be like, don't let them get you down. Ignore them. Their voice doesn't matter. Yours does. Remember? Okay. Let's keep going. So the heart of the matter today is the Ace of Swords reversed. Can feel like we are either like lacking a direction of some sort. It can also mean that we're lacking what we feel are like ideas, or can also mean too, because one of the interpretations of the Elder Tree was to not get distracted from a certain path, and as I said, the Ace of Swords reversed can mean like a lack of new ideas, or sometimes it can also mean, in very specific cases, in my personal experience, a situation where like we go back to an old path rather than following the new one. Maybe that's another problem you've been having recently, pile 2, where you like tried a new path. Maybe it is related to this creative or musical thing, and you're not getting the immediate feedback you wanted, so therefore you're like questioning yourself. You're like, oh man, what if I made the wrong path or choice? Or like, should I really keep doing this thing? What if I should go back to this other path? And so that's like that message of the Elder Tree of not getting distracted off the path that you're on to keep going, okay? Especially because, like I said, I think there's an opportunity coming for you. This is probably where we'll see it too, is here in the last 2 cards, the near future and the outcome cards, okay? So ancestor, what else do you want to say? The Fool reversed. Okay, yeah, being afraid of taking risks. Yep, which can be kind of related to self-worth, right? I'll talk about that more in a second. And we have the Devil reversed as the outcome, which is a good card to get as an outcome, because when the Devil is reversed, its negative energy is released. So I will tell you this, pile 2. Currently, on the path that you're on, you are headed towards freedom. That is what the Devil reversed means, coalesced into just one keyword. Upright, the Devil means, oh, I'm kind of chained, I'm kind of stuck in something, I feel like I'm kind of, it's almost like a jail cell card. But reversed, it's that energy of, okay, this thing has been released. I have been released, okay? It could also mean, too, for those of you that are like music related or some sort of creative passion related, this can be your ancestors saying, release the thing, don't hold it back. So some of you, it might be self-worth in terms of like, well, I don't know if the song is good enough to put out to the public, or I don't know if I'm ready to like submit this manuscript. If it's writing, it's for just an example, whatever example it might be for you. In either case, your spirit guide, ancestor, etc., is telling you, do not hold it back. Do not, because I think there's an opportunity for you there that you'll miss if you don't release whatever that is. Also, in general, if it's not about releasing a certain creative thing, it can be overall that you are on a path towards being freed from something. However, you do have a piece of advice here, and that comes not only in, a lot of the oracle cards we already discussed about making sure that you step into your power, making sure that you know your own self-worth, not being afraid to step into perhaps new business ventures like the merchant talks about, okay? Not being afraid to speak and be seen. Okay, that's also related to self-worth, but you got that as your lantern oracle for today. She's literally playing, looks like a lyre or a harp, I guess. She's not afraid to speak and be seen. She's glowing. She's playing a glowing instrument. She's being loud, as singers and instrumentalists do. And so your ancestor is telling you to also not be afraid of being loud. Be seen, speak. Okay, so that's your first piece of advice from mainly the oracle cards. Number 2, you always have free will, pile 2. Your ancestor would never try to force you to do something. Neither would I as a tarot reader. However, here it comes, the asterisk. You're being highly encouraged in a certain direction. And that direction, my friends, is not to go back to the old path. It is to keep on the path that you're on now because you were moving towards a freedom and an opportunity related to that freedom and or the release of something, be it whatever project creatively it might be, okay, or whatever's going on. And then 2, with the Fool reversed. Now, that can mean that in the near future, you might be kind of mired in that feeling of like, I don't know, I want to start this new thing, or I want to keep going with this new thing, but I'm so afraid it's not going to work out, because the Fool reversed can mean that we're starting a new adventure, but we're a bit wary of the risks. Although sometimes it can mean, too, just to make sure to watch out for risks, but because of the way the other cards have gone, I'm not really saying that so much for you, pile 2. I'm saying it more as this might be just kind of your internal feeling rather than the actual reality of like risks being associated with this, because I think with your caution that you've already kind of imbued in whatever this is, you naturally already know what the risks are. So it's not like your ancestor is saying like, you know, hey dummy, look in this direction, like there's a risk over here. It's more so that they're saying, yes, there are risks, but there's a lot more for you to gain with an opportunity if you work through your fear of those risks. Okay, so the Fool reversed can be a bit of a nudge from spirit, from, well, specifically an ancestor, right, towards don't hesitate to start the new journey. Get going on the new thing, because they want you to have whatever that is. Now, you especially, pile 2, I'm very curious as to what this opportunity will be, other than obviously like the release of something or freeing yourself in some way. So I'm going to ask this ancestor if they can give us a sneak peek into where it is going. Like, why do they not want you to miss it? Like, why is it such a good opportunity? Also, maybe a hint as to like what to look out for so you notice the opportunity when it comes by. So I will ask that right now. Ancestor of pile 2, could you tell us more about that, please? Let's see. I shuffle one more time. What is this opportunity? Why is it such a good opportunity that you don't want them to miss out on? Thank you. Also, advice for them noticing it. Number 1, we have the Queen of Wands reversed, which is another creative card because she is fire, being a Wands card. I'll talk about her more in a second. We have the Knight of Swords, another court card. And then we have the Four of Swords with rest. Looks like Fenrir, if I'm not mistaken. Interesting. An opportunity with the Queen of Wands reversed, Knight of Swords, and the Four of Swords upright. Let me think about that for just a moment here, pile 2. Sorry I'm silent. I'm just making sure I'm getting the right message here. Oh, now it clicked, duh. Took me a second. Here's the thing. You have 2 choices, pile 2. Your ancestor is telling you that if you pull back now, if you hesitate now, or you go back to the old path now, whatever resonates with you more, with as we were describing before, if you hesitate, it doesn't mean that you won't make the progress and success that you're looking for. But what it does mean is you won't make it nearly as fast as you would if you keep going now and see as an opportunity that's coming in the near future. I say that because you have the Knight of Swords as the central card here. And the Knight of Swords is, when you look at the depiction here, going very fast. Okay, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's the fastest knight in the entire deck. Although the Knight of Wands, too, can sometimes be kind of a quick card. But Knight of Swords is very quick, especially when it comes to getting a message out there or communication, because it's an air-related card. So very good, especially if you're looking for like a music release or, like success with a book of some sort, communication in some way, though of course art is also a communication in general, just in a visual manner. But you'll find the success you're looking for a lot faster if you keep going now and do not rest. Okay, because that's the other element coming here with the Four of Swords. Because typically upright, the Four of Swords means a time of rest, a time of putting the sword down, of being quiet. It's like, although that particular depiction is Fenrir with the sword through his mouth, so it's almost like being silenced, and he's even kind of bound in a way too. Oh, you know what it is? This is really odd. I usually don't see messages like this, pile 2. I don't know if some of you have been having like haters recently. People who are really like critical of whatever it is you're trying to do or put out there. Like, I don't know if you've already released something along these lines. Like maybe you already have released music in some way or whatever it might be. Oh, that's why it's rest. Okay. This opportunity that if you seize the reins now and not hesitate will silence people that have been criticizing you a lot faster as well, in whatever way that might resonate with your situation, is what I'm also hearing. Okay, so that's kind of the way the Four of Swords pops out to me that way. And then the Queen of Wands reversed can be a piece of advice to, of course, step into your confidence more, be more bold, be more brave. But when it comes to, like, as we specifically asked, like, what's the opportunity, and why they don't want you to miss it, it's because it might make you look a little bit less passionate, or it might make you look a little bit less confident if you do hesitate. And I guess it really depends on the industry you're in or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish here. So everyone's going to be a bit different. But of course, in some industries, when we hold back, sometimes people see that as like, oh, you're not passionate enough about something, which of course is not true in the slightest, but sometimes people see hesitation as like, oh, well, they don't really want it, or they might see hesitation as, especially if you do have haters or people that are really critical of you, which my condolences if so, that's not fun, pile 2, but they do exist when we put ourselves out there. Even happens here on YouTube with tarot readings, trust me. It happens all over YouTube, any creative passion, wherever you put your voice out there. There's not going to be one tomato thrower, right? At least here and there. And so when you step back, sometimes those criticizers, those critiquers see that as an opportunity to kind of lunge, which sucks, but that's just unfortunately the nature of some people with, human nature. So it's like your ancestor is saying, by being bold, by going faster, by not resting on, not resting on your laurels, I guess, necessarily. I guess it's really more of a self-worth thing rather than holding back just because, you don't feel like it. It's more, I think, you just don't feel confident enough in whatever this is. Basically, what your ancestor is saying, please be confident in whatever this is, because I think you have a good product or song or whatever to put out there. And it would far greater benefit you and free you faster if you release this thing faster, if you go on this path in a quicker manner. Okay, so that's why they wanted to reach out to you today, because they don't want you to miss this opportunity, and they don't want, the tomato throwers, if that applies to you, to have a chance to be, to put it a nice way for YouTube, buttheads again. So I think, if you do release it quicker, or maybe more on the way that you had planned rather than maybe you were considering putting it off, you'll find that it's received a lot more well than had you, say, waited or pushed it out more. Okay. So step into your power. Remember your self-worth. Do not be afraid to speak and be seen. That's really important here with this voice card, okay? And you will find that your anxieties are released. You will find that you gain more success of what you're looking for, right? You'll feel more free, too. And that is why your ancestor wanted to tell you this today, because they're like, of course they don't want you to have people criticizing you. Of course they want you to have success. And of course your ancestor too wants you to seize opportunities when they come. Also, one last tiny thing. For those of you that are in an industry or this thing is related to where other people might be like a part of an approval process of some sort, or like you're trying to get your work seen by certain people, it really depends on the field that you're in, right? If that is the case for you, this might mean the opportunity comes forward with these 2 court cards in terms of a feminine fire energy that might kind of come off as a little bit like too in your face, because sometimes the Queen of Wands reversed can be slightly, a little bit like negative, but I'm not getting like a really bad feeling off of this feminine energy. She just might kind of come off as very like opinionated, I guess, but it doesn't mean that she has like bad intentions in mind. And then the Knight of Swords might mean that there's someone in the situation, maybe even a bit younger, especially, comparing a queen to a knight, who is, I would say, masculine energy, although I don't necessarily associate knights or pages with one or the other, and is like air energy, or someone who is very like quickly, fastly talkative, or someone who is like witty and kind of smart, because that's the sort of energy that you see with like a Knight of Swords, especially too. I almost feel like maybe like the Queen of Wands reversed is like their mentor or their boss, and then the Knight of Swords might be like the main person that you're trying to get the attention of, but then it also gets like her attention too, because you got his attention or their attention in the first place. It's something along those lines. Okay, so just, your ancestor says, just keep these things in mind and you'll find what you're looking for. Okay, so that was your message today from your unseen ally. That's what they wanted to tell you that was important. So I hope, number 1, it helped you, right? Number 1 goal with readings. But, of course, 2, that you liked it, it resonated. And if so, please like the video, comment down below, and please subscribe if you have not done so already. And thank you so much if you choose to do any one of those 3 things, if not more, because every little bit does help the channel so much. And I thank you for, even if it's just as simple as clicking the like button, that helps a lot too. So thank you. And as we say in our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, Pile 2. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hi there, Pile number 3. Welcome to your secret message from an unseen ally reading. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to Chamomile as your pile leader. Now, as I promised in the intro right away, we're going to try to see what kind of being or who it is that is reaching out to you today for this message. So let's slide your Chamomile over here to the left and draw that right now. So grabbing my meteorite bowl and of course calling on spirit for your highest best good as always. Can you tell us more about this being or who this is that's reaching out with an important message for Pile 3 today? Please guide us to the right answer, to the right energy. Thank you. Okay, and I'm drawn to this particular one for you. So we'll put the bowl aside and unveil that right now. Drum roll, please. You are being contacted today by an ancestor. It's really funny, Pile 3. Every single pile today either had ancestor just like you, or they had a spirit guide that was also an ancestor. So I guess today's reading is kind of turning into mostly an ancestor reading for everyone, but that's okay because ancestors always have really good advice. I've noticed they tend to give really good, grounded advice, especially because they have lived a life here on Earth and they know what it's like to be in your situation or to be a human just like you. And of course, they're related to you. Of course, they care about you. I mean, spirit guides too, but at the same time, There's always kind of that special connection we have with ancestors. So, an ancestor is reaching out for you today, and that does change actually one of the decks we're going to use. That was part of the special aspect of this reading is I have different decks for different kinds of beings. So for ancestors, we use the Vintage Wisdom Oracle. So, Ancestor of Pile 3. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, what it is you want to tell them about? What does Pile 3 need to know? Maybe something identifying that they, if, you did know them in this particular life, that they might be able to see you and know you by. All right, so I'm drawn to that one. Thank you, Ancestor. And we have the card of Celebration. Interesting. So Celebration, Pile 3, makes me wonder that, well, there's kind of two ways this can go. We will see what else pops out from your other cards, but intuitively, I feel as if, number one, there is something very happy coming your way that your ancestor wants to give you a heads up about, so therefore it's really kind of like a blessing reading too, on top of being an ancestor message. Or it could be that recently on your mind, there has been a celebration that you've been thinking about quite a lot. Maybe you're either excited for it, or you could be even sort of nervous. Maybe it's a social gathering and you're kind of, I don't know, you're socially anxious about it. You're not sure how it's going to go, or there's some element there that's been making you a little wary. And so maybe you've been asking for a sign. Maybe you've been asking for advice on how to handle this particular thing. In which case, that's probably what this ancestor is reaching out to you about, is that advice. Or, like I said, it could be a heads up on a positive, happy, celebratory thing coming your way. We will see, of course, with the details that will help us hone in more through the synchronicities as to what this is referring to. So, let's actually grab next the Set It Out Oracle. We'll ask the ancestor to please identify themselves a little bit more, ways that Pile 3 might not, or might recognize you that so far they haven't been able to, or parts of your message to them. Could also mean, Pile 3, that this particular ancestor, if you knew them in life but they've already passed on, you did recognize them as someone who liked to party a lot, perhaps. Maybe they were kind of a party animal, or maybe they were someone who had a lot of celebrations. Maybe they put on a lot of celebrations for other people. Maybe that was related to their job. Like, I'm trying to think of like an event planner or something along those lines. Wedding planner. Worked for weddings or celebrations or parties, something along those lines. Something where their social skills were probably really put to use. But let's keep going. From the Set It Out Oracle, we have, the Scholar, though. They were very smart. Because we have the element of air, which air in cartomancy is usually associated with intelligence, right? But we also have investigation and research. So could mean they were an air sign. So, Libra, Gemini, Aquarius, or had a lot of those placements in their astrological chart. Could also mean they were, like I said, very intelligent. So maybe not even just celebrated in some way. It's very possible that on top of, like, say, maybe they did do celebration planning, or they had a lot of parties and whatnot. At the same time, they were a thinker. They were someone who was very deep intellectually. There's someone maybe who was in the university system or had like a lot of degrees or something along those lines, very intelligent, or very possible could be that they taught other people, because oftentimes, scholars do teach other people. Part of learning is teaching others, right? So could have been, a professor, a teacher also. Of course, too, we'll have a little bit of geometry here with the ruler and the, forgive me, I'm kind of blanking out on what you call the triangular ruler, but I know that is related to geometry. And then, of course, you have writing papers. We have the inkwell with the feather quill, pencil. Very smart. Maybe they were even celebrated for something they did on a scholarly basis, or something that they invented or brought to the world through their mind. And then the second Set It Out Oracle today is the Diviner with the element of fire. So not only do we have air, but we have fire. Could have also been a fire sign or had a lot of that placement in their chart. And we have divine timing and evaluation. So someone who knew exactly when to do things. Someone who was very good about figuring out, planning ahead too. And maybe that's part of what you're worried about today, is planning ahead for the celebration that is on your mind. Or if it's more, they're trying to give you a heads up about a celebration of some sort or some blessing coming your way, that they're trying to tell you that, yes, this is in divine timing, but we're trying to give you a bit of a hint, a bit of divination here, speaking of tarot, to give you this heads up. Could also mean, pile 3, that this person was a diviner in some way. Maybe they were not just into the scholarly arts, but into the mystical arts. Maybe they even did tarot themselves, or Lenormand, or other cartomancy, or it could have been other forms of divination. There's so many out there, tea leaves, runes. I'm trying to think. There's just a gazillion. Geomancy. Anyway, whatever their divination system might have been, it's possible that they were kind of a bit of a mystic. Maybe they were a tarot reader too. Maybe that's why you're drawn to tarot, if you did know this person during their lifetime. Very smart. This sounds like a really cool ancestor, actually. Or that, or, sometimes this can manifest in the way where they kind of had the ability to see the other side, or they had intuitive knowing, premonitions, etc., but maybe they lived in a culture where that was kind of like, you just didn't really talk about it, or, they weren't maybe forthcoming about it, but despite that public persona of being, this maybe not mystical to the public eye, I think underneath they still had a little bit of that, I don't know, what's the best word to use? A little bit of that mystique, I guess, is the word I'll use to them. Okay, so let's keep going with the last oracle deck for today, the Lantern Oracle. And then, of course, you have tarot cards to draw, too. So the opportunity, celebration, smart ancestor. In terms of their gender, pile 3, now we do have a feminine figure, of course, with celebration. However, both of the elements of air and fire in cartomancy are generally associated with masculine energy. So this could mean that just for this whole entire pile, it's kind of a split 50-50. Some of you, this might be a feminine ancestor. Some of you, this might be a masculine ancestor. But if I had to pin it down to one, I want to say that this was a masculine ancestor of yours, if I had to say one, or I'm leaning more towards. So, we'll see. Then from the Lantern Oracle, we have, the unknown. Well, how fitting that someone that was scholarly is reaching out to you with a message about the unknown today. Being just on the cusp of something. This is literally like a gateway. The world is at the peak of the arch, or the column, I should say. And it says number 5, knowing the unknown, which is precisely what scholars do, right? Especially if they're scientific. They figure out the unknown, they plunge into the unknown and make the unknown known. Maybe you are finding yourself on a similar path as them. Maybe that's why this ancestor is reaching out to you. Maybe you're also a scholar, pile 3, or you're into something that does require a lot of intellectual stimulation and ability, of course. And maybe you're just on the cusp of celebrating something with that, and they want to give you advice on that or heads up, or there's some opportunity or blessing coming in this area of your life too. Especially when we see the unknown here as like a gateway. I'm like, oh, you're just right on the threshold of something new is kind of what I'm feeling intuitively from this ancestor. And then I didn't even talk about your chamomile yet, so let's glance into that. So this particular deck, the Seed and Sickle Oracle, actually describes each card in 2 different ways because there's 2 different guidebooks. Now, the first interpretation of chamomile, pile 3, is gaining support from nearby because it describes chamomile as one of those plants, much like marigold, if you're familiar, where if you plant it next to other things in your garden, it can, number 1, help ward off pests because of the strength of its smell. They don't like it, right? Just like marigold. And then number 2, it said even sometimes it can enhance the flavor of other things around them, like mint and other herbs, okay? So that's why, number 1, it represents support from around you. So that opportunity might be someone coming to help you with something that you are worried about with celebration, or that, is this opportunity coming your way? Or it could also mean that, like literally this ancestor is that support to you. They're just, in which case they're trying to like reaffirm to you, pile 3, that yes, I am here. Yes, I see what you're doing. And maybe even too, if you are following in this ancestor's path in some way and you recognize who this is, and like, for a fact that like your path is very similar to what they did in their lifetime, say same career field, just as an example, or area of study, if it's like a university thing, basically that's that ancestor kind of saying that they're really proud of you, because by them saying, I am nearby, I am paying close attention, of course they care no matter what, but I think they kind of have a special, I don't know, twinkle in their eye about you, because I think you take after them a lot. Pile 3 is kind of what I'm hearing from this intuitively. And it's basically them saying, yes, I acknowledge that you're doing something similar to what I did. And I am proud of that. Okay, so there's also an element of pride here too. They also want to celebrate you for whatever it is that you're doing. You know, it might not even necessarily mean that you're doing the same exact career, but you're doing something that's kind of at least similar in terms of the nature of it or the purpose of it too. So don't count yourself out with that message just because, you know, you didn't have the same exact job. I mean, maybe even the job that you do now didn't exist at the time that this ancestor lived, which is very possible. But so that was the first interpretation of chamomile. Now, the second interpretation of chamomile, of course, we associate it with soothing our nerves. We associate it with calming ourselves down, just like we do with like lavender. And in which case, the second meaning of chamomile in this deck is making sure you take time for self-care. Now, if you have been working very hard at something, which is kind of what I'm feeling here for you, pile 3, naturally your ancestor is going to remind you, make sure you take time for self-care. So there's kind of a secondary message in that case for you because, you know, I don't know what the scholarly life is like. I mean, I went to college, but, you know, my main area of focus when I went to college wasn't about like publishing research or anything like that. I was more in like a tech field. So, you know, it was along those lines. I didn't have to worry about like researching. I didn't have to worry about, I mean, yes, like, you know, every college student has to worry about, you know, publishing, well, not publishing, but like writing essays and all the homework and whatnot and speeches, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say without explaining it too much. But at the same time, I think you specifically, pile 3, whatever it is you're doing, or even if you're not at university, but whatever you're working on, tends to be probably high stress and high tension, especially right now. So that's why your ancestor is trying to remind you, hey, pile 3, make sure you take time for self-care as well. Because maybe they were a bit of a workaholic in their life. Maybe that's why they were such a party animal. Sometimes maybe they kind of pulled a Jekyll and Hyde with it, where like sometimes they were like nose to the grindstone, super studious. And then the other half, they were like, okay, party time, because they were so stressed out from this side of their life too. It's kind of like maybe they just were complete opposites at times. And so it's like them kind of reminding you to bring more of a balance of that, well, not to repeat, but work-life balance into your life, because they are illustrating to you by example through their life. Don't do it the way that I did, okay? Don't work hard and play hard. Find a balance between the two, okay? Because sometimes, I don't know, maybe they got into trouble with being a workaholic, or maybe they got into trouble partying too hard sometimes too, but okay. Anyways, okay, so let's draw your tarot cards. Thank you, Spirit Guide, Ancestor of pile 3. And, you know, maybe you're also afraid of the unknown here in the near future. Maybe there's something kind of looming that might not just be a party or social situation that you're a little bit of afraid of, pile 3. Maybe you're wondering if you'll have that opportunity to pass that threshold. So, Tarot will tell all. Thank you, Ancestor, pile 3. We have the Queen of Wands. She's been popping up quite a lot lately in the readings today, although I think you're the first one that's gotten her upright. Now, as the inciting incident card, pile 3, the Queen of Wands is usually about a time where we're stepping into our power, we're stepping into our boldness and our confidence, and also a really great time for creativity. So I wonder if a lot of what this is coming out of is some time in your life where you have been able to be more bold, or, you know, it could also be that maybe you learn to be a little bit more courageous or brave about something, in which case this ancestor with this upright is saying, we noticed that about you, pile 3, and once again, we're proud. A lot of pride in this particular message for you today, pile 3, which is always good to hear. Can also mean that there's some situation involved where there's a feminine fire sign or someone who tends to come off as very charismatic and confident with feminine energy that's involved in what's going on, that maybe you're kind of worried about, especially if it's like a social situation you've been kind of unsure of. But it could also actually represent you, pile 3, if you're feminine fire sign. So let's keep going. We'll see where this leads. We have the Sun. Speaking of pride, also light, knowing, knowledge, truth, just like the scholar talks about, because what do scholars do but find truth, right? And happiness and joy. I think, pile 3, this is, I think they're telling you about a blessing coming your way, if I had to really pin it down for most of you. Especially with that Sun that just popped out, because this is kind of like leading up to what they're trying to convey as the message. Like they're saying with these first 2 cards, this is the reason why I'm reaching out. So the Sun kind of makes me think of a blessing. So let's keep going. Then we have the King of Cups can represent this. Also, another thing I forgot to mention, the Queen of Wands or any other court cards that pop up like the King of Cups might represent this ancestor too. So, you know, maybe they were a feminine fire sign, or Now that we have the King of Cups, it could mean that they were a masculine water sign, or someone who is emotionally mature, someone who is very good about connecting to others, especially when it comes to, in terms of when it comes to getting things done. Because not only is the King of Cups the master of emotions and relationships, but he's especially good at it when it comes to taking action. So, interesting. I'll talk about that more in a second, because we'll see where this goes before I have to see that before I kind of really understand why the King of Cups came out. But then we have the Three of Pentacles reversed. Might be a piece of advice. It is reversed. Let's keep going. And then the outcome here is the Five of Swords. Now, that's typically a negative card. Pile 3, I will admit. However, because this is, I'm feeling, a blessing reading based on that Sun card that came out, I often read what would typically be a negative card in the future positions here, the 4th and 5th position, as something that's actually going to change for the better. It's like something that's going to right itself or adjust itself. Okay, so for those of you that are worried about a social situation or some sort of celebration and you're not sure how it'll be received or like how things will go there, maybe you even are kind of presenting something related to research or whatever it is that you're trying to attain or achieve, and you're like, oh my god, I don't know how this is going to go. Oh my god, am I going to flunk it? Am I going to, etc. Whatever your worries might be. I will tell you this. I would say that, especially when it comes to areas of communication, like if it is a speech or presentation, you are going to do well, is what this ancestor is trying to tell you, because you have not only like the Three of Pentacles reversed, which, like I said, normally would be negative, but in this case, I would see it as the blessing of standing on your own, like standing out, because typically it's a teamwork card. It's like people helping each other, but reversed, it's like on your own, independent. And then also in communication, because of the swords you got here with the Five of Swords. Traditionally, that means a conflict of some sort or a verbal battle, but especially if it's like a speech or a debate of some sort, pile 3, that can actually mean that you will succeed with whatever that is, that speech, communication, whatever it might be. Okay, in which case you stand as the victor and will be celebrated for the speech, etc., whatever this particular thing is, like I said. Now, 2, it can also mean, as I said, reversals in blessing readings can mean things that are going to fix themselves, or like the negative interpretations are like what's going to fix themselves. So in which case, you might also recently have been worrying about a situation where you have been lacking teamwork in some way, like maybe people aren't like working with you. Maybe that's why you're kind of worried about this presentation or this thing, because it's kind of like maybe a group project where it's like no one else has been helping and you've been like, oh god, are they actually going to pull their weight? In which case I would see that also resolving there in a blessing reading with the Three of Pentacles reversed, because, as I said, that energy turns itself around. And then the Five of Swords too can mean, once again, say it is like a group project. It goes well because it's, a verbal quote-unquote conflict, or, presenting something to somebody and you standing as the victor. Okay, especially because of that Sun earlier, that really makes me think this is like a positive thing coming your way, and celebration too, of course. Now, I know you might be kind of afraid right now. Number one, because of the unknown card. It's kind of like, oh man, we're on the cusp of the unknown. We don't know how it's going to go. But do remember, this ancestor is supporting you in this time. They're very proud of whatever it is that you're trying to achieve with this goal that you're kind of maybe nervous about the way it might be presented. Because Chamomile talks about, being nearby to support. Okay, think of this ancestor, if you recognize who this is, their example, and think about, well, what would they do in my situation? Okay, that's often why ancestors do come forward in readings like this, is because they want to remind you through their example a potential path to follow or advice to follow. And that should also help you too. Now, yeah, I didn't talk about the King of Cups. I said I would circle back on that. In which case, yes, that might be this ancestor. It could also be you. You might be a masculine water sign as well, pile 3. But if not, then I would almost say they're commending you for the emotional maturity that you have had in this situation, especially if you are finding that maybe there's been a lack of teamwork in some way. Because I think your emotional maturity is what's going to carry you to that success in whatever this verbal battle is, okay? I think you especially stand out as someone that has it together, someone who's been very responsible in whatever the situation this is. But at the same time, do remember that self-care. Because especially if you've been kind of carrying everything on your own back, this ancestor is trying to remind you, well, good job. That's good that you managed to pull all that weight. However, you also need to take care of yourself with that. Remember that self-care message from the other interpretation of the Chamomile card, okay? So, yeah, I mean, I guess just to summarize overall, if there's anything you take away from this reading today, pile 3, it's that this ancestor is proud of you, but also that this thing, whatever you're nervous about with this situation and how that was resonating with you, is actually going to probably go pretty well. So it's really kind of a reassurance reading on top of a blessing reading. All right. And then 2, I think for some of you, this might not resonate with every single one of you, but for some of you, I'm also hearing that if it is a situation too where you are feeling as if you're the only one pulling weight and people are not working along with you very well, like the 3 of Pentacles can sometimes mean reversed, right? I almost wonder if there's something they're going to regret afterwards because of this particular depiction of the 5 of Swords. Like, say if it is a group project, it's very possible that maybe, like, they'll get outed for not actually having done any work or helping you, and you'll kind of stand out as the sole example of the emotionally mature, responsible one, like the King of Cups talks about. In which case, that makes you just stand out all the more and be celebrated all the more because people realize, oh, hey, actually, you were the star of the show, even if maybe other people had been kind of pretending that they were also pulling weight when you were really, the poor ox cart, horse that was having to pull all the weight along and do everything on your own. But I know that's another thing too, is that if you've been stressed out about the situation, which very understandably so, that's not fun to be in that situation, but your ancestor is also kind of saying that your efforts will pay off, okay? It will be worth it in the end, as difficult as it might be right now. So just remember, pile 3, in summary, celebrate yourself, pat yourself on the back. This ancestor is for sure patting you on the back, is very proud of you, okay? Especially in the way that you reflect a lot of what they passed on. Even if you don't recognize who this ancestor is, there's things that pass down that, little quirks, little genetic things, little family psychological patterns that pass down, sometimes negative. We focus on negative psychological patterns that families pass down, but also positive as well. In either case, whatever it is, this ancestor is proud of you for the way that you embody their values and what they sought in their life. Okay, so just remember that above all at the end of the day. Okay? And take care of yourself. Self-care. That's another really emphasized thing. So don't fear the unknown. Everything will work out. Beautiful. So that was your reading for today from your hidden ally, their secret message for you from this ancestor. I hope that reading, of course, helped you. Number 1, that's what I care about most with these readings, pile 3, but also you liked it, and of course that it resonated. And if so, you know how the YouTube drill works. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much if you choose to do any one of those 3 things, if not more. I just repeat it because every little bit does help the channel grow beyond its current size, and I'm just very grateful for, even if you just click the like button, that's perfect. But, of course, comment down below if you'd like, and subscribe too. And thank you if you choose to do those things. And as we say in our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next one, pile 3. Bye.